Have you ever dated like a celebrity?
I've never dated a celebrity, I don't think. Well, I may have like hooked up with one or two in the shadows.
Rappers?
I can't tell you all the tea.
Okay. I know, baby. I know.
I don't think there was a rap.
Y'all, EJ Johnson just put DL Hughley on full blast after he made some homophobic and transphobic remarks about EJ that were honestly pretty out of line. Now the whole situation has people side-eyeing everything, because how do you go from calling someone out publicly to getting exposed behind the scenes? And it doesn't even end there. Monique jumped right back in, dragging Hughley like she's been waiting years for this moment. And if you know their history, then you already see where this is headed: messy, personal, and loud. EJ definitely didn't stay quiet either. But wait till you hear what he actually said in that interview that kicked all of this off, because that's when everything really started spiraling. This isn't just a simple clapback. We're talking receipts, old beef coming back up, and some very specific claims that are hard to ignore. EJ came ready. So let's break down this chaos. Okay, so music. It all started when EJ pulled up on the Reality with the King podcast and said some things that, let's just say, raised eyebrows. During the interview, he claimed he looks better than every woman in any room he walks into and said women could never compete with him. That instantly sparked backlash, because it came off like he was competing with cis women. EJ has already gotten side-eye for having a pretty unusual track record of putting cis women down to hype himself up. So when he doubled down saying no woman could ever look as cute as him, music? Yeah. A lot of people were not feeling that. And honestly, it's easy to see why.
Even when I was a kid and like they were like, well, you can't wear skirts. And I was like, well, why not? You know, it's like my inner being was like, there's nothing wrong with this, especially if I look cuter than any girl does. Like, what's the problem? Like, what's the issue? And that's exactly how I apply it to myself to these days in the way that I present, like in my, in my feminine regalia. I've always been a feminine being, and like that's just like how I best express myself. But I'm like, listen, I'm out all the time, and like I'm killing a dress and no one else is. Like the girls in the room are not doing it. Like they don't look cute. They're not dressed to any nines. So
fans jumped into the comments with things like, bless his heart, money really got folks delusional. He looks like an NBA player in a dress with an awkward neckline. Another person said, nobody's really checking for EJ like that. He acts like he's a huge celebrity, sir. Your dad is the celebrity. What made it even more controversial is the fact that EJ doesn't identify as trans. Sure, he presents feminine and calls himself one of the girlies, but he's still benefiting from male privilege while making those kinds of comments about biological women. That rubbed people the wrong way. He also said he told his parents to stop using he, him pronouns and to stop referring to him as their son.
But even I told them on my birthday in June that I was like, we're not doing he, we're not doing man, we're not doing gay. And it was very freeing. And also it just was, it just was like, I wasn't like, I'm not, and it's very important, I think too, when you're, and I hate the term coming out, but I think when you're telling people about who you are telling them. I'm not looking for acceptance. I'm not looking for your validation. I am telling you what's going down.
But at the same time, he's not clearly claiming she, her pronouns either. In fact, he even said he feels a certain way when people use she, her music, or any pronouns at all.
Do you, are there pronouns that you go by today, or how do you identify your sexuality?
I just say, call me EJ as much as possible.
Okay.
It's like pronouns I don't really like he, but like I've also trained myself not to get upset when other people use it, which I think is very important. Because you're giving your power away when you lose it. You give words too much of personal power. They is fine, whatever.
It comes off like he wants to present as a woman and move like one, but still throw shade at women without getting checked. And trust, it doesn't stop there, because the interview gets even wilder, and you'll see exactly why DL Hughley felt the need to step in. Anyway, back to the interview. EJ went on to say he only dates straight men and isn't attracted to gay men. He even added that he only pulls straight men and has never dealt with anyone who wasn't fully straight. Just listen.
I don't attract gay men, and I'm not attracted to gay men. Like, it's just not a thing. And I don't go to gay clubs. I don't go to, gay things because it's like the men that I attract are not there. And also, like, they're like, they kind of like wave you off. You're just like, oh, that, hey girl, like, it's not, you're not in here like the rest of us are.
And remember how people have been saying he low-key competes with cis women? Music? Well, he basically confirmed it in the shadiest way, saying no woman could match him because he's better. And I wasn't about to compete with all these other, who think they're bomb, and they're not. I just had to find my own way to tell my story the way I wanted. Now this is where things really start heating up, because EJ then claimed he had allegedly been linking up with some well-known celebs behind the scenes.
Have you ever dated like a celebrity?
I've never dated a celebrity, I don't think. I may have like hooked up with one or two in the shadows.
Rappers?
I can't tell you all the
tea. Okay. I know, baby. I know.
I don't think there was a rapper.
As you can expect, that moment blew up and everyone started to wonder who the celebs in question were. Well, the next thing we knew, DL Hughley did an interview where he talked about how irresponsible it was for celebrity parents to let their young children transition.
If you're still going to a pediatrician, if you need my permission to go to a movie, then I'm going to have a say in what happens. If you believe that isn't how you want to run your family, I have no choice but to respect that. But don't pretend as if it isn't an unpopular sentiment to a lot of people.
Well, look, the fact that Dwayne Wade went on a promo tour.
For whatever reason, that's what seemed to set EJ off. And he turned around and called Hughley a hypocrite. And according to an insider, it's because Hughley was allegedly in EJ's DMs trying to shoot his shot, if you catch my drift. That claim is wild. But at the same time, this isn't the first time DL Hughley has been accused of moving on the DL. And guess who was right there ready to clown him? Monique. The tension between them actually goes back a while. Things really popped off when Monique was announced as the headliner for the Comedy Explosion show at the Fox Theater in Detroit. And you already know that headliner spot is everything. Big venue, packed crowd, all eyes on you. But that's not how it played out. When the show finally went down, Monique didn't even close the night. She ended up going second to last, while the final slot went to Hughley. And what made it worse? She barely got any notice. The contract had reportedly been signed weeks earlier, but she only found out right before the show that she wasn't headlining anymore. Instead of brushing it off, Monique paused mid-set and addressed the situation right there in front of the audience.
The motherfucking contract said that a bitch is the headliner. The headliner. Let me say it again, the headliner. That's what the motherfucking contract says. Monique is to be the last motherfucking person on the goddamn stage. She is the headliner. That's what I signed the fuck up for. I'm 30 plus years in this motherfucking business and I don't open for no goddamn body. The contract said the headliner. The contract said the headliner. The contract said the headliner. But a nigga named DL Hughley turned into a bitch and said I won't perform if she does that. I won't go out if she does that. Nigga, you open for the kings of comedy. I close for the queens of comedy, nigga.
Now, here's where it gets interesting, because at the time, she hinted that Hughley was on the DL and had some secret dealings with men. What does DL even stand for? How far you been bending over? On the DL? Hughley fired back on Instagram, and let's just say it wasn't pretty. He posted a photo of Monique from Precious and wrote, "All you have to do is check the order of names on the ticket stub from last night, and you'll see who's confused." Against my better judgment, and after saying no multiple times, I decided to take a chance working with Monique. Oprah was the problem. Tyler Perry was the problem. Charlemagne was the problem. Steve Harvey was the problem. Lee Daniels was the problem. Netflix was the problem. Now it's my turn, he went on. At some point, it can't be everybody else. It's you. Lesson learned. People paid to laugh, not hear about your contract. And that role you played in Precious feels more like an autobiography. I wonder who's next. Daryl Lynn Hughley. So now, here we are. EJ Johnson drops a bomb, DL Hughley gets pulled into the mess, and Monique makes sure the heat stays turned all the way up. This isn't just about opinions anymore, it's about perception. And right now, that narrative is loud, messy, and sticking hard. Because once your name gets tied to something like this, it's not easy to shake. You end up wearing it.